everybody, this is RC Central here, and today we're going to be talking about putting FPV onto a drone. Now, unfortunately, I do not have a drone, and I do not have access to a drone as of yet. Although this is a requested video, so I have decided to tackle it, and I have some diagrams and pictures of a generic drone, and I know pretty much the basics of putting a camera onto a drone because I have done it before for a friend. The reason I cannot use my friend's drone is because it's crashed, broken, and destroyed, so I'm sorry for that. So we're just going to have to do with diagrams today. So, well, here we go. So you might have seen this camera before on this channel. It's the FPV camera that I use. It is a bundle from Hobby King. And Hobby King here have put a bundle with a receiver, some antennas, and goggles, and they have included a nice little camera and a transmitter and all the wires associated with that transmitter and everything for a reasonably cheap price considering what you're getting here. And so really what we need to go over today is how to put a camera like this onto a drone like that. And now I do have a picture, as you can see here, of a quadcopter drone. But you can basically put FPV on anything you really want to if you feel like it. I don't know, strap it onto a quadcopter, a plane, a brick wall if you're that type of guy. I mean, don't know how you would RC a brick wall, but hey, there you go. So really, it's just about finding the ideal place to put it, where it won't get slashed and thrashed by any moving parts, where it's safe, and where you're going to get, of course, a good image from. Now, if you're talking about a drone such as this one, quadcopter, very generic one, you have a empty space on the bottom, and you have some landing gear that could protect a camera if it were to sit there, although there is one problem with that. A camera such as this has a transmitter with an antenna that sticks straight up. Now you could get some flexible cables or route a whole bunch of L-bends to get the transmitter antenna on top, which is where you definitely want it. You don't want it sticking out the bottom or it'll hit the floor when you land. So the camera being on the bottom would work. It would just be kind of a hassle to get the antenna up there, and you'd have some interference because the longer the distance of wire between the transmitter and the antenna, the worse. And you are saying, well, hey, why can't I just mount the transmitter on top of the drone? Well, if you're going to have a camera on the bottom and you want it to be there to be protected, you're probably going to want to have the transmitter protected also. So really it just depends. You can get a drone that has bumper guards such as this that might go a little bit above the blade. That might be enough to protect a transmitter on top. And so really, it's a bit of a complicated way to put it on the bottom, but if you really want it there, then yes, you can, of course, take a camera like this, mount it upside down, just invert the image on your goggles so it's right side up, and then strap it there, and then either put the transmitter on top of the drone or move some wire to get the antenna up there, and that is a way to do it. And so really, that's one way of doing it. The next way of doing it is putting it on top of the drone, and this is a way that I would generally do because you can have a housing such as this little plastic box that will definitely protect most of your electronics, and you can have a view from on top of the drone if you want it there. And if you really wanted, you could also have a gimbal or servo that could turn the camera 360 degrees around, and you wouldn't have the landing gear in the way of that view. Although there is a downside to that, and that is, of course, that if your camera is not mounted high enough, or if you have a certain field of view lens on the camera, you will be seeing those blades, and it really just depends. If you're using a utility drone that you just fly to have fun and fly and you don't make videos with it, I would mount it on top personally because, well, I think it's better there. But if you want to get really good videos, or you're just doing photography and stuff like that, or you just enjoy it being on the bottom, you can, of course, put it on the bottom. It just takes a little bit more work. Now, we've talked about how to get the camera onto there. We're going to be talking about how to fasten it now. You can use, and this is what I prefer, zip ties, because they are very strong. You will have to drill a hole or two through the bottom or top, depending where you want to mount the camera, of the drone into the plastic. And generally, if you just take it apart and check where you can put it, you can do that, and then just zip tie on the camera or whatever it's in this case, a little plastic thing, And that works very well because it's not going to come off easy, it's going to be protected, it's not going to fall by itself if you do some hard maneuvering. And if you didn't know, you can actually remove zip ties from things if you know how to do it. So for example, this zip tie, as you can tell, is used, yet it's not cut. That's because if you take a very small screwdriver and jam it into there while it is shut, sort of like that. Not going to click it though. You jam it in there, and there's this little tiny tab that you'll see that will click onto the little bumps, or whatever they are called, ridges I would guess, that keep the zip tie together. You just pull that back a little bit, it's bent, it's plastic, and then you can simply slide it out. So that's what I would do whenever I want to get my FPV off, if I had a FPV camera dedicated to that specific drone. But what you might also want to do is use industrial grade Velcro. Now if you're going to use Velcro, you definitely do not want to use just like a cheapo Walmart Velcro, because although that Velcro is good for holding a remote on a wall so you don't lose it or something like that, it's not going to hold a camera onto a drone. So really you have to go to Hobby King or wherever you choose, or maybe even Amazon if you can find the right sellers, to get you some very industrial grade Velcro. And you can even hear it as I rip it apart. It is very, very hard to rip apart, and I doubt that any camera or equipment would fall off of a drone if you were to use that. So you could also use that, just stick, or if you want to, cut holes through the Velcro and put a zip tie around the Velcro to keep the Velcro on the drone, and do the same on this side. That way there's no way it could ever peel off accidentally if the adhesive on the back of the Velcro isn't very strong. So that's what I would do if I wanted to take the camera off and on rapidly and use it on other cars and drones and such. So you have the zip tie way, again, you have the Velcro way, and if you are super duper careful with your things, Velcro and zip tie. So now we have where to put it on the drone, and we have how to put it on the drone. So how do we power it? It all depends on the drone that you have. If you have a drone that runs off of battery packs that you take in and take out, such as this, like universal battery packs for RC cars and drones, it's pretty easy to get something to get hooked up to that. If you have a higher end drone, or something of the such that is custom from a company, they will usually have batteries that are not universal, such as this, and replaceable very easily. And in some cases, they don't even have a little balance tab here. LiPo batteries will have balance tabs. If you do not know this, most drones run off of LiPo. I've never heard of a drone that runs off of an IMH. Those ones are the ones that do not have balance tabs. But anyways, so if you do have one that uses a universal battery, it's very, very easy to power a camera or transmitter or things like that off of it. If it is custom built by a company, well then I really can't say much for you. I would personally look into splicing power off of either the circuit board or the existing battery, but that's kind of tricky, and if you don't know what you're doing, you can ruin your drone and void any warranties that you have, and really, I just wouldn't do it. So, if you really want to, and you don't have a universal battery for your drone, it's like a custom drone or something, go look up some tech videos on how to solder stuff, and how to tell which points the electricity comes out of, and how to safely dismantle a battery. And really study that, and then you can do that. Although most of the time, you'll have a drone that runs off of universal batteries, which is much easier to work with. In this case, this kit from Hobby King has a little, I guess you could say, female balance connector that powers both the transmitter and the camera. And the camera can run off of 3S or 2S. In this case, I opted for the 3S, so it has a connector that will only fit onto a 3S balance tab, although you can opt out for or solder on your own wire for a 2S balance tab. It just has a little bit less ports on it, and well, it'll also work with it. So if your drone runs 2S, I would say get this kit from Hobby King. It's a nice kit. Look it up. It's called FPV Bundle. And you will just need to use the existing balance tab, if I could get it in frame. Use an existing balance tab on a 3S drone, or if you have a 2S drone, 2S, like this, then you can either buy the same kit and solder on your own 2S connector, because this camera and transmitter do run off of 2S, or you could buy a different kit from someone else who already has a 2S connector on it, or just make your own kit. Get a certain camera, get a certain transmitter that you like, and wire it all up if you want to do it that way too. Although I'm guessing if you already know how to do that, you're probably not going to be here looking at how to put a camera onto a drone. Anyways, so that's pretty much the basic. It's not very hard, it's pretty simple, and I have to say, it's a lot like RC cars. RC cars, again, 2S, 3S, you find out which one, get the right connector, get the right equipment, and you find out how to mount it onto the car, and in this case, Velcro, just like you would use with a drone. The only extra thing that has to do with the drones is where you place the camera to make sure it doesn't get chewed up by blades. So if you see here, we have blades and we have a center section. It varies from drone to drone, but you just want to make sure that when those blades are spinning, that they're not going to touch the camera. Most people would check for that, but it is a extra step that some people forget about, and it's just very useful to make sure that you know that before you mount your camera and everything, get all excited, go out to fly it, and the blades end up destroying your camera and themselves, and even the motors on the drone itself. So just make sure that if you're going to mount it on top, just make sure that you have room to put the camera where the blades won't hit it. You could use your finger to spin the blades while your camera is mounted on. Without the motors on, just spin them very gently to see if the blades will hit or get very close to the camera. Even if it was very close, if your camera is not securely mounted and it might wiggle just a little bit, I wouldn't take the risk of the blades maybe hitting the camera if the camera shifted while you're doing a tight maneuver. So really, once again, that's about it. I'm going to leave you here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Can't wait to see you in the next one. Goodbye.